not everyone is going to like you. That is like a true takeaway from this conversation, is to look that in the face and then start to process it.
Yeah. And I think that I've learned, there's a quote we were talking about, probably not but from Aristotle, but that's who everybody attributes it to, that there's only one way to avoid criticism, and that is to do nothing, to say nothing, and to be nothing. If you're going to put yourself out there and start a YouTube channel, if you're going to put yourself out there and start creating content, if you take a stand for anything, then there are going to be people who will criticize you, and that could be negative comments. It's, of course, choosing to click the unsubscribe button, and it could go even worse. They might gossip about you. You get to a certain size, they might make a video about why they don't like you and publicly call you out. And well, if you want to avoid that, well, then just do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing. I think a modernized YouTube way of saying this is the only way to avoid being unfollowed is to not have any convictions, is to play it safe, is to try and please everyone, and is to never start in the first place. So if you never start, you'll never have to go through the pain of the unsubscribers. But I think that people not liking you just comes with the territory of standing for anything. The truth is, being a leader goes hand in hand with rejection. Nobody makes it to the top without being rejected somewhere along the way. And the opportunities for rejection only grow the higher we go. And so, yeah, it is painful. And I do want, if you're watching this, you may or may not want to look at this stat, but if you want to see this, it's not really publicly seen in your main analytics. You go to advanced settings, you select a particular way of measuring a secondary metric, and you can look at subscribers gained and subscribers lost, which is about total. It's not the current number of channel subscribers. And if you do watch the YouTube version of the Fake Media podcast, we'd love to hear in the comments, how many of you lost? How many of you gained? How many of you lost? Let's talk. Because I think in the process, you're going to see you're not alone. And that, again, any channel that started, maybe it was bots, maybe, again, someone's offended, someone just moved on, but it kind of comes with the territory.
Absolutely. I would be really interested to see you guys put it in the comments, and like Sean did, we can laugh about it. we can commiserate a little bit with each other. So as content creators, Sean, we do want to take it seriously. Even though we're talking about just drop in the comments, we know that this actually does have a true mental and emotional toll. So we definitely want to be addressing that. And how are some ways that this actually gets a little bit deeper? Sean, what have you experienced over the years?
Yeah, I think that third takeaway for us is content creators need to pay special attention to the mental and emotional toll that comes with this career. Mm-hmm. There's an interesting conversation. There was a kind of a political YouTuber that's getting kind of canceled right now, or people are angry, which is one of the things that comes at some point in your career for most, especially if they're pretty big, and he's pretty big. Because he was talking about, he's kind of not complaining, but kind of complaining that he live streams 9 hours a day. And that when he's done live streaming, he's like, I have no energy to talk to people. And he was kind of like, one of the things that just sucks about my career is like, it really affects my personal life because I live stream and then I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to. And then I heard Phil DeFranco reviewing this, and he was saying, I cover the news all day. And so when with friends, family, associates, I don't want to talk about the news after work. I'm just exhausted. And then people go, oh, I can't believe you as a successful YouTuber, you're rich, entitled, you have the best career ever, you get to work full time from home. And so there's a weird tension that really can trigger people. And by all means, from my perspective, I wake up every day so grateful, humbled that I get to do what I get to do. Our Think Media team, that we get to do what we get to do. The culture we built as a team to work from home. There's little known pressures and little known weights that come with this career. Things like being canceled. And canceling's funny because when you say someone's canceled, maybe you trend on Twitter if it got that big. The people that are canceled they're still here, but it's just once things reach a fever pitch because you did something or you offended a group of people. But things like canceling, things like harassment, things like negativity, things like rejection, the fragility of your future income, you being yourself, putting yourself out there, creating content, gaining subscribers. There's a level of, man, if I make a wrong move, if I mess up and do something dumb, of course you got to own that. But your future income is fragile. It's not the same way as going to a job working for someone else and, at some level having that pressure on them. You're like, man, this is on me. If my subscribers abandon me tomorrow, what do I have? So I think that I know you've got some thoughts on this. I think just pay special attention to the mental and emotional toll. Like, I like to remind myself that YouTube isn't everything. Social media isn't everything. If my wife, my kids, and my inner circle and my inner game is good, like if I can look myself in the mirror, if I can, when things get quiet, drive in my car, don't turn on music or podcasts or anything else, just pray, spend time with God, think about it. Okay, yeah, this is my career and this is what's happening over here, but it's also just YouTube, or it's also just even your job, even your career is just your career. How's your soul? And I know I can get wrapped up and wound up in this and the level of stress that can rise in a day, and maybe the negative news or a video does flop and you do get a lot of negative feedback and dislikes or an abnormal amount of unsubscribes because of a particular video. You feel that for sure, but YouTube isn't everything. And we say, have thick skin and keep a soft heart. And so, yeah, I think you got to guard your mental health and know that this career comes with unique mental and emotional challenges that other careers don't.
First thing to me is just acknowledging that it is real. And I think oftentimes, like you're mentioning in the beginning of this point, like people will say like, oh, that's so entitled to even complain about this. But I just want to say like, it's real. Those emotions are very, like they can run very deep and they can touch on a lot of different insecurities and things that are part of the rest of our life. So I do think that as content creators, we're often very isolated, but we are not meant to carry a load like that alone. Especially as you start getting bigger and bigger and there's more responsibilities, maybe you have other people who are dependent on you now, teams, maybe you have family, again, like you're mentioning that financial component. So those are things that are truly heavy, and we shouldn't have to firstly just bury it and say like, no, that's not an issue. We should acknowledge it. But then we also need people around us to help encourage us and support us. And that doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're, whatever words that you're telling yourself right now, that's just humanity. We need each other. And so that's one thing that I'm so grateful for in the communities that we've been able to build, in Think Media and in our Video Rank Academy. But it's just ways to actually find other people who understand. You're like, I get this. I've gone through that, and you're not alone, and you're not experiencing this on your own, and let me support you and let me encourage you to keep going and to push through. And so I'm always encouraging our community members, like, don't isolate yourself. Find those people. And one very practical way to do that, again, is to we have an in-person event coming up, right, Sean? And we made that decision very specifically. So we want this to be in person. We want to really encourage people to come out to Las Vegas, meet in a room, meet other humans, get face to face with other people, because it's pivotal. It's pivotal to your sustained health in this way, is to actually make those connections, to do it in person, but also to just have that connection made at all. And so I would really encourage you, if at all possible, for you to come out to Growth Video Live, to get in the room with other people who are like you and make those connections with people who are going to be lifelong friends. We've heard real stories of lifelong friendships being made because, again, you're in person, you're focused, you're making connections on these things that are important to you. So I don't want to hound the point too long, but we don't just host these conferences because it's like fun for us. It's a lot of work, but we think that it's incredibly important and has a huge payoff when you lean into that community aspect.
If you enjoyed this podcast and are ready for some deep dive YouTube strategy, just go to thinkmasterclass.com to get access to my 1 hour on-demand YouTube strategy class. You'll be looking over my shoulder as I share my best tips, and you can watch it on demand right now at thinkmasterclass.com.